I'm going to discuss uh, diatomic molecules as rigid rotors. I'm sorry, as non-rigid rotors. Already we have discussed rigid rotor. Now we are going to um, discuss that the diatomic molecules behave like non-rigid rotors. Okay, what is meant by non-rigid rotor? Listen, you know very well when diatomic molecule, right, are rotating, uh, what will happen? The bond length definitely never be constant. Okay, as the molecule rotates, right, the bond length starts to uh, distort. Okay, because the bond that we assume is not a rod-like bond. Bonds are really appear like a spring. Okay, so they are bonds are assumed to be um, massless springs. Massless springs. They are not massless rods. They are massless springs, spring-like systems. If this molecule rotates about an axis, assume that this is the axis of rotation, what will happen during rotation, right? Uh, Centrifugal force will act on the atoms. They are centrifugal force. Centrifugal force will act on the atom so that this molecule will start to oscillate. Okay, and that frequency of oscillation, right, will be same whether it is a ground rotation level or excited rotational levels. Frequency is same. Energy need not be same. Energy will be different, but frequency of oscillation is same. That frequency, the frequency with which the bond vibrates. Okay, see, this is called a fundamental. It's called vibrational fundamental vibrational frequency of the bond. This bond vibrates with certain frequency. Okay, let us denote that vibrational frequency as omega naught bar. Okay, I am giving the vibrational frequency in terms of wave number. Omega naught bar can be given as 1 by 2 pi c square root of k by mu, where 2 pi and all constant, c is velocity of light, k is reduced mass, and mu is I'm sorry, k is force constant, mu is reduced mass. Okay, so if you know these values, you can calculate the fundamental frequency, or from vibration spectrum of the molecule, you can get the accurate value for fundamental vibrational frequency of the bond. Yeah. Now, listen. So, due to the centrifugal force, okay, some distortion happens in the molecule, but that distortion never keeps the bond length constant. Okay, the bond length will vary. So, due to centrifugal force acting on the molecule, right, distortion happens, and that distortion makes the molecule uh, makes the bond length keep on changing, right, as the molecule rotates in different rotation levels. So in the lower rotation level, molecule distort with a lesser distance, but if you go to higher rotation level, molecule distorts with a larger distance. Right, this is the main point. Listen, but before going to see this centrifugal distortion effect, I like to give this information. Listen, if you observe, this is the point I have to give before discussing this. That is analysis of rigid rotor spectrum. Rigid rotor spectrum of diatomic molecule. Rigid rotor spectrum of molecule in general. Okay, it may be diatomic or polyatomic, whatever it is. Analysis of rigid rotor spectrum of molecule, right, shows that it that spectrum implies that there are some perturbations. There are some perturbations. Because of the perturbations, okay, um, the simplicity of the rigid rotor spectrum is not observed. Okay, so this perturbation actually removes perturbations removes the simplicity of the rigid rotor. We assume the molecule as rigid rotor initially, but due to some perturbation, okay, that rigid rotor spectrum never be observed. So the analysis of rigid rotor spectrum, this is actual spectrum. If you analyze the actual spectrum shows some perturbations, some variations. Okay, that variations actually removes the simplicity of the rigid rotor. So now we have to analyze what are the perturbations actually, right? The perturbations, yes, we have these perturbations, right, which makes a deviation of the rotational spectrum from the rigid rotor assumption, right? So what are the perturbations? We have many perturbations actually. We have these three are very, very important. Number one, centrifugal distortion, perturbation due to centrifugal effect or centrifugal uh, force. Okay, so as I mentioned here, as the molecule rotate, right, centrifugal force act on each of the atom. Okay, because of the centrifugal force, the bond length keep on changing. Okay, this is what we call it as a perturbation, right? This perturbation arises due to centrifugal force. So because of the centrifugal force, okay, perturbation arises. Because of that perturbation, some deviation will appear, okay, from the expected rigid rotor spectrum. Then second perturbation is Coriolis spectrum. Coriolis effect. Due to Coriolis effect, right? This is actually Coriolis effect is nothing but the interaction between rotational and vibrational motion, right? Due to the vibrational and rotational interaction, right? There will be some deviation or some change, right, in the observed spectrum of the molecule compared to the expected rigid rotor spectrum. Okay, this is called Coriolis effect. It is the effect due to the interaction between rotational motion and vibrational motion of the molecule. And the last one, third one, is actually due to Fermi resonance. Okay, Fermi resonance is a rare case, so you need not worry about that. And these two are very, very important. And in these two, okay, we are going to discuss only the centrifugal effect on the rotational spectrum of diatomic molecules. Okay, because you see, in general, if you consider these effects, okay, these effects are very, very small, negligibly small. I'm sorry. These effects are very, very small in the lower rotation levels, and these effects will start to appear only in higher rotation levels. So, since these effects will appear only in higher rotation levels, right? And even then, even for a higher rotation level, the centrifugal distortion effect will be dominant compared to the other effects. Okay, but for if you want to understand more accurately about the frequencies of the lines that appeared, then you have to consider all the effects, right? Yeah, and Coriolis effect is very important for research purpose and all, but we are not going to discuss that. We are going to consider only the centrifugal force. Okay, so based on centrifugal force, right, we can say that the centrifugal force acts on the atoms during rotation, and because of this centrifugal force, there will be distortion in the bond length, and the bond vibrates, okay, with some frequency, and that is nothing but fundamental vibrational frequency of the bond, which is given by this formula. Okay, now using this distortion, right, people have solved Schrodinger equation. So by solving Schrodinger equation, by solving Schrodinger equation, by solving Schrodinger equation, including the centrifugal effect, including the centrifugal effect. I'm not going to discuss how this centrifugal effect is included in the Schrodinger, the Hamiltonian, and how it is the equation solved, right? I'm not going to discuss that. Okay, I'm going to give you only the final result. Okay, you know very well the centrifugal force. Centrifugal force is nothing but m v square. Yeah, sorry, mv by r square, right? Mv square by r square. Am I right? This is the formula for centrifugal force. Mv square by r square. Here in the place of m, I put reduced mass because we have taken diatomic molecule. Right? Now, by solving Schrodinger equation, including the centrifugal effect, right? We people have got the expression for energy. So I'll give energy in joules first. Right? The energy for joule is given by h square by 8 pi square I into j plus 1 minus h power 4 divided by 32 pi power 4 I square r square k. K is force constant, j square into j plus 1 the whole square, then plus additional terms, plus etc etc. Okay, due to the centrifugal distortion or centrifugal effect, okay, the rotational energy level, the rotational energy expression, okay, comes out with the many terms. This is the first term. Okay, this first term we have already seen under rigid rotor uh, assumption. Okay, so this is rigid rotor assumption, and all the remaining terms, right, are considered as the correction terms. They are all correction terms. Okay, and listen, in wave number, see, this is in joules. This is energy in joules. I'll write here. This is energy in joules. Joules. But I told you in the last class, in the molecular spectroscopy, we are going to plot intensity versus wave number mostly. Okay, we are going to plot wave number, not energy in joules. So what we are going to do, we are going to convert this energy in joules into wave number. So for that purpose, I'm going to divide. I'm going to find the energy, rotational energy in wave number, which I am representing as f of j. So what is f of j? Energy in joules divided by hc. You will get the rotational energy in wave number unit. Okay, so if you divide by wave number, that is hc, we'll get this result. That is b by, I'm sorry, h by, what is that equation? Yeah, so I'm dividing this by hc. I'm going to divide this by hc and this by hc. So what we'll get is h by, I'll write here, h by 8 pi square ic, right, into j plus 1. This is in wave number unit now. Similarly, the second equation, the second term, which consists of h cube by 32. We have to divide throughout by hc, right? 32 pi power 4 I square r square k into c into j square. I don't have space here, so I'll write here, into j square into j plus 1 the whole square. Then plus the additional terms. Okay, now if you observe carefully, listen, h is a constant, 8 is a constant, pi I is a constant for a given molecule. Moment of inertia is a constant for a given molecule. C is velocity of light. So this gives you a constant called rotational constant, which we already seen in the rigid rotor assumption. So this is the rotational constant for the molecule, which is represented as B. Right? And here B is given in centimeter inverse wave number unit. So that's why I have put a tidy in the top. And see here, h cube 32 pi power 4 I is moment of inertia for a given molecule. I is a constant. Internuclear distance, yes, is a constant. K, force constant, is a constant for the given molecule. Okay, C is velocity of light. So again, these are all constants. And this constant, right, is called centrifugal distortion constant D, which is represented by the symbol D. Okay, and this is also in wave number unit. That's why I put a D cap here. Okay, so if I replace these constant quantity by this simple notations, right, we'll get the formula for rotational energy as F of J equal to Bj into J plus 1 minus D J square into J plus 1 the whole square plus etc. the additional terms. Actually, we will have cubic term, quartic term, etc. Okay, but it was found that the higher power terms, that is cubic term, quartic term, right, their contributions are very small, right? So the higher contributions are negligible compared to D. So we are not going to consider these contributions. Okay, actually they have values 10 power minus 20, 18 like that. Okay, so they are very small. We need not consider. Only for very rare case we consider the third term, actually cubic term, right? Mostly we won't consider that. So we are going to consider only this formula for most of the non-rigid diatomic molecule, that is Bj into J plus 1 minus D J square into J plus 1 the whole square. So this is the formula we are going to use. And this is the rotational energy of a diatomic molecule in wave number unit. Okay, this formula taken care of the centrifugal effect. Okay, now from the values of these B and D values, okay, you can relate these two, and you can also write this as, say, D equal to if you substitute properly, you can relate D and B as D equal to 4 times BQ by omega naught bar square. Okay, very important. And this gives you the relationship between centrifugal distortion constant. Okay, see what is D? D is called centrifugal distortion constant right here. Centrifugal distortion constant. It is a constant for a given molecule. And what is B? B is called rotational constant. B is called rotational constant. Okay, so this formula is the actual formula we have to use to analyze the rigid rotor, to analyze the rotational spectrum of diatomic molecule. Okay, it's a very important formula. Keep this in mind. Now, so if you use this formula, okay, what effect this formula shows compared to the rigid rotor formula? You know very well, this the first term. The first term corresponds to rigid rotor assumption. Okay, or the first term corresponds to rigid rotor energy formula for molecule, and this is the correction term. Now, because of this correction term, what effect that is observed in the quantized rotation energies of the molecule? So that we'll discuss first. Okay, so what I'm going to do, yeah, here I'll take so I'll take the energy axis here. This is the energy axis. Now I'll give the non-rigid rigid rotor assumption first. Okay, let me give the rigid rotor assumption, and you know very well, when J equal to 0, the energy of the rigid rotor, right, is also 0. F of J is 0. Right? F of J is 0. This is for rigid. Okay, for rigid rotor. This is we have discussed already. If J equal to 1, right, then F of J will be under rigid rotor assumption. Okay, if you put J equal to 1 here, you'll get 2B. 2b. Then if you go to j equal to 2, you'll get f of j equal to, if I put 2 here, 2 into 2 plus 1, 6. So I'll get 6b. Okay, like this the energy levels goes. But in the non-rigid rotor case, what happens? I'm going to draw in the same spectrum, in the same graph, same diagram. Yeah. Now, if I use this formula, the entire formula, okay, put j equals 0 first. If you put j equals 0, this becomes 0. This also becomes 0. Yes, if j equals 0, right, rigid rotor and non-rigid rotor have same energy. This is for non-rigid rotor. They have same energy. If you go to the next level, that is j equal to 1. If I put j equal to 1, if I put j equal to 1 here, I'll get 2b. I'll get 2b. But now, see here, I have a correction term. If I put j equal to 1 here, this is 1. Here, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 square is 4. So, 4 times d have you have to subtract. So, if you subtract, what will happen? The energy decreases slightly. The energy decreases slightly. Okay. And now, the energy of this level is actually 2b minus 4 times d. Minus 4 times d if I put j equal to 1 here. So there is a small decrease in energy. Okay, if I go to the next level, j equal to 2 level, see, in the rigid rotor case, I'll get 6b. In the non-rigid rotor case, you put j equal to 2 here. So 2 square is 4. Here 2 plus 1, 3. 3 square is 9. 9 plus 9 into 4. Okay, 36, right? So that corresponds to a decrease in the energy little larger extent compared to this gap. See, if we compare this decrease is larger. This decrease is larger. Okay, and what is the new energy? What is the energy of the molecule under a non-rigid rotor assumption? A non-rigid rotor case, it is equal to 6 times b minus, okay, this is 3 square 9 and this is 4. So 9 into 4, 36 times d. Okay, here 4d amount of energy is decreasing compared to the rigid rotor, whereas here 36 times d is decreasing compared to the rigid rotor. So what happens is, as we go above and above and above, okay, there will be large decrease in the rotational energy, right? Okay, and listen here, um, this is for j equal to 1, j equal to 2, j equal to 2. Yeah, there's a large decrease in energy. So the gaps are as gaps are further reduced here compared to this. Okay, so this is the point that that is very important. Keep this in mind. Okay, now listen. If you go to higher level, yes, even further decrease will be there compared to um, corresponding rotation level in rigid rotor molecule. Yes. Now what I'm going to do? What will be the frequency of the spectral line? Right. Listen. As far as selection rule is concerned, there won't be any change in the selection rule. Selection rule remains same. Okay. Selection rule. What is the selection rule? The selection rule for non-rigid rotor is also same, because there is no change in the transition dipole moment, right, as we apply this selection rule. So selection rule is same, that is delta J should be equal to plus or minus 1. Delta Mj should be 0 and plus or minus 1. Okay, this is called specific selection rule. And what is the gross selection rule? The gross selection rule says that molecule should have permanent dipole moment. Okay, the permanent dipole moment should not be 0. Molecule must possess permanent dipole moment. Okay, I will explain why molecule should possess permanent dipole moment while discussing in detail about the selection rule. Okay, once I complete the rigid rotor and non-rigid rotor, okay, for the diatomic molecule, then I will show you, right, how to get the selection rule for rotational spectra of diatomic molecules. I'm saying this is a selection rule, right? What's the proof for this? We are going to discuss, okay, once we complete the non-rigid rotor for diatomic molecule. Okay, this discussion. Now, the next one, what is the frequency of the spectral line? At what frequency the spectral lines will appear? Okay, in the spectrum, we get, see, if you assume molecule as a rigid rotor, you know very well, the first line will appear at 2b. The second line will appear at 4b. Third line will appear at 6b. So if you see the gap will be equal, which is equal to 2b. Okay, in the case of rigid rotor. But since the molecule now behave like a non-rigid rotor, okay, so the gap I will see how the gap will going to be, whether the gap remains same or whether gap decreases. I told you already, in the case of real molecule, right, as we go to the higher rotation levels, or the transition from higher rotation levels, okay, for those transitions, the spectral line starts to appear a little closely. So the gap starts to decreases. Okay, so that is the actual spectrum. Now, I'll show you why this happens actually, right? Because of the inclusion of centrifugal effect. Okay, and before going to see that, I like to give this point. If you compare the value of D and the value of B, if you compare, then usually the value of D will be in the range 10 power minus 3 centimeter inverse. Will be in the order of 10 power minus 3 centimeter inverse. Very small. Whereas if you compare B, the value of B will be in the range of 10 power 10. Yeah, 10 centimeter inverse. I told you already. Right? The value of B will be in the order of 10. Okay, 10, 10, 20, 30 like that. Whereas the value of D is very, very small. 0.001 like this. Okay, so keep this in mind always. If you compare D value with B, D value with rotational constant, D value is very, very small. So the distortion effect is usually appear only in higher rotation level. Why I'm saying this point? Listen, D is very, very small, right? If D is very small, listen, when J also small, that is lower rotation level. If you see lower rotation level, then this quantity will be very, very small. Therefore, the effect of this correction term will not be observed in lower rotation levels because they are negligible. So the distortion effect, centrifugal distortion effect, starts to appear only for higher rotational levels. Okay, so keep this point very, very in your mind, which is very, very important, because D value is very, very small compared to B. Therefore, centrifugal distortion effect starts to appear only beyond certain rotational level, okay, or in higher rotational levels. Okay, this is a very important thing that you have to keep in mind. Now, what is the frequency of the spectral line? You know, well, to find this frequency of the spectral line, okay, what we have to do, you take the two adjacent rotation levels. Say this is jth level, right, and this is j plus 1 level. And you know very well, this transition is allowed as per selection rule. Okay, as per selection rule, this transition is allowed. Now, frequency of the spectral line is nothing but the gap, because we write energy in wave number unit. Therefore, the difference between these two will give you the frequency of the spectral line. So frequency of the spectral line is equal to rotational energy corresponds to j plus 1 level minus rotational energy corresponds to jth level. Okay, so if you utilize the formula and if you solve it, right, yeah, we'll do it for f of j plus 1. So what we have to do, in the rotational energy expression, wherever j is there, you put j plus 1. So p j into j plus 1. So instead of j, I'll put j plus 1. Then j plus 1, instead of j plus 1, I'll put j plus 2 minus d j square into j plus 1 the whole square. So instead of j square, I'll put j plus 1 the whole square, and instead of j plus 1, I'll put j plus 2 the whole square. Okay, so this is the energy term for f of j plus 1 minus then f of j. F of j is same. So bj into j plus 1 minus d j square into j plus 1 the whole square. This is the formula. Okay, so uh, if you simplify this, we will get okay, actually we can easily simplify. I'll just leave this to you. It's a very simple mathematical uh, simplification you can do actually. So I'm going to give you the final answer, right? You just check whether it is correct or not. Okay, so 2b into j plus 1. This is the frequency of the spectral line, which we got in rigid rotor assumption. Okay, but in the non-rigid rotor case, we have the correction term. Okay, 2b into j plus 1 minus 4d into j plus 1 the whole cube. Okay, so this is the frequency of the spectral line in centimeter inverse. In centimeter inverse, this is the frequency of the spectral line. Okay, so where would the first line will appear? Okay, here you should put j values as j should be substituted as lower j value. Lower j value you have to put. Suppose if transition takes place from 0 to 1, you put j equal to 0 here. If transition takes place from 1 to 2, put j equal to 1 here. Okay, so if you put the values, right? So listen, I'll write here. So for the first transition, that is 0 to j equal to 0, sorry, j equal to 0 to j equal to 1 transition. For 0 to 1 transition, where the line will appear, at what frequency that line will appear for 0 to 1 transition. Okay, so what we have to do, put j equal to 0 in this formula. Okay, if you put j equal to 0 here, j equals 0, 0 here, the 0 plus 1 is 1, so I'll get 2b minus here 4d into, if I put j equals 0, I'll get 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 cube is 1, so minus 4d. So the first line will appear at a frequency of 2b minus 4d centimeter inverse. Okay, what about the second line? That is j equal to 1 to 2 line. J equal to 1 to 2 line, if you see 1 to 2 line, 1 to 2 transition will appear at, put j equal to 1 in this formula. So if I put j equal to 1 here, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 into 2, 4, so you'll get 4b. If you put 1 here, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 cube is 8. Okay, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 cube is 8. 8 into 4 is 32. So what we have to do, 4b minus 32d we have to subtract. Okay, so this is the position where the second line will appear. What about the third line? 2 to 3 transition, where the 2 to 3 transition will appear. So we have to put the lower j value 2 in this formula. So if you put 2 here, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 into 2, 6b, you'll get 6b here. And here if I put 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 cube is 27, 27 into 4, 108. So minus 108 times d. So what we'll get is 6b minus 108 d. Okay, so this is the frequency of the spectral line that we have get. Now listen, so in the spectrum, the first line, let me draw the spectrum like this. Okay, this is the wave number of the radiation, microwave radiation, or frequency of the microwave radiation. The first line, that is 0 to 1 line, will appear with this frequency, that is 2b minus, I'll write here, that is 2b minus 4d. Then the second line, that is 1 to 2 transition, 1 to 2 transition will appear at a frequency of 4b times 32d. And if you see the third line will appear closely. Okay, third line corresponds to 2 to 3 transition, and this line will appear at 6b times 108d. Actually, if you see the gap between first line and second line, and the second line and third line, if you see, the gap decreases. If you go to the higher, the other lines which appear in higher frequencies, okay, you can see that the gap decreases. Okay, why the gap decreases? Right, if you want, you can take the difference. Right, if you take the difference between these two, what is the delta nu bar difference? 4b minus 2b is 2b. Then minus 32d, minus or minus is 4 plus 4d. So 32 plus 4 is 28 minus 28. I'm sorry, minus 28d. This is the difference between first line and second line. What about second line and third line? What's the difference? The difference is 6b minus 4b is 2b. Here I have minus 108. Here plus 32 on subtraction. So 108 plus 32. If you subtract 6, 7, so you'll get minus 76d. Now see, these two are not equal. Here we are subtracting 28d from 2b, whereas here we are subtracting 76d from 2b. Okay, so definitely this gap and this gap are not equal. Actually, this gap is small because we are subtracting 76 times d. Okay, so this centrifugal distortion effect, okay, explains the spectrum almost with great accuracy. But there are problems observed because we have to include the other corrections also. Okay, but for a qualitative purpose, okay, or this non-rigid rotor assumption will give you the spectrum, or which can explain the spectrum qualitatively with the greater details. Okay, yeah. So this is regarding non-rigid rotor approach of diatomic molecules. Okay, so in non-rigid rotor assumption, the spectral lines, right? If you move towards a higher frequency, the spectral line starts to appear with shorter distances. Okay, and this gives you the real picture of the molecule which we discuss. Okay, yeah. I stop here. In the next class, I will discuss the rigid rotor assumption of polyatomic molecules.